Alright, so nagbabalik tayo sa ating violin tips and tricks. And for today's video, I want to talk about lifting the violin. Especially for those people who play the violin without their shoulder pads or wala talagang shoulder rest, no? Direktang hawak or directly holding or placing their instrument right in between their chin and body. So, maganda ba yung idea of lifting your instrument, or is it bad, or is there any drawbacks with regards to doing certain techniques? Okay, so first of all, when we lift the violin up, no, we must understand that we shouldn't be pressing or trying to grab onto the neck, no? Yun yung importante, that we can actually lift our instrument up as long as it will not affect the movement of our hands when it comes to shifting, intonation. Kasi when we try to lift something up, gusto natin mag-grab siya, di ba? And grabbing on will limit the ways we can move. No? Hindi tayo makakapag-shift ng ayos. We won't be able to play properly, in tune. Siyempre, pag naka-ganyan yung kamay natin, our fingers can't be spaced out evenly, no? We won't be able to extend and reach and all of those things. So, when I say lift, I mean is lifting from under. Okay? So, hindi natin siya pwedeng buhatin from the side, kasi from the side or from the top, of course, you have to support it from underneath. So, when you lift your instrument, it shouldn't be that all your hands are, all of the work is on your hands. No? Kailangan, naiipit nyo pa rin siya dito. If for example, masyado talagang mataas pag naka-shoulder pad ka, and when you don't have one, the violin is a bit low, yes, you can, no? As long as you're not giving any other pressure, walang ganon, no? Walang squeezing, walang grabbing na nangyari, you can lift with your arm, no? And be able to still have enough contact and enough control with your instrument. Okay, pero ano nga ba yung drawbacks when you try to lift up your violin? So, one major drawback of lifting up your instrument is that your intonation will be compromised, no? I've been seeing this a lot with some of my students who don't use shoulder pads, no? Kasi when the instrument falls down, usually ano nangyayari? When it falls down, your hand actually slides up, meaning nawawala tayo sa position. Now, if you're only playing in the first position, tapos bumaba na ganun, what ends up happening is that your fingers, diba, might move. And if you're not very familiar with the proxemics of your hands, no, nandun ka sa pwesto na kailangan nandun ka, of course, mawawala ka sa tono. You'll be out of tune. So that's one thing to remember, is you have to be able to find out where your hand position is, especially if you don't play with with finger tapes or stickers to guide you, no? You have to be careful with that, no? Kasi the danger, if it's falling down always, kasi sometimes what happens is if you rely too much on the hand pulling it up instead of the chin and your body and your neck to lock it in place, nangyari malalaglag siya madalas, because we don't want to give 100% of the weight into their hands. Kasi nga may ibang ginagawa yung left hand natin. As much as possible, we don't want to lift, but at times we really need to, no? So, you have to at least give maybe 80-20. Sometimes kailangan bitawan mo lang ng konti. But as long as you understand the placement of your hand, whether you like to put your thumb in line with your index or in line with your middle finger, wherever that position may be, you have to maintain that position whether your instrument goes down or if you lift it up. The same thing happens when we lift up naman, no? What happens naman when we lift up is gravity is doing the opposite, no? When you lift something up, of course, it will go lower naman. So, those things might happen when you try to lift them up, and when it falls down, no? So, kailangan talaga babantayan mo yung positioning of your hand. If your hand is out of position, everything else will be out of tune. Even if you have good framing, no? So, use your ears and use your feeling of your hands. Especially, for me, the base of my index finger and the side part of my thumb. Yun lang yung nakakapit, no? But I'm lifting with, let's say, my elbow. Just to keep it in line. No? And again, if you try to lift, don't lift it too high. No? Pangit na naman yan. That's the reason why I don't use a shoulder pad is because if I use one, masyado na siyang mataas. No? So, I don't really lift my violin up. I just put it here. Sometimes, pag medyo nahuhulog, no? Because, of course, it's unstable. We've talked about that before, that if you don't have a shoulder pad, your instrument will be unstable. So, sometimes you just really have to nudge it up and just keep it in place. No? Yun lang naman yung reason bakit kailangan mo siya i-lift. No? It's there because you can use it, but it's not something you should be using every time you play. Why? Kasi nga, mawawala ka sa tono, mawawala yung intonation, mahirapan ka mag-shift. Because it's hard to shift when you're trying to do so much with your hand at the same time. No? So, another tip I can give is always respect the double contact principle that we've been talking about in this channel, di ba? So, only two parts of your hand should be placed. And of course, no squeezing, no grabbing, no grasping. Lift with your arms, no? Don't lift with your hand or fingers. Kasi your hand is doing one thing, then your fingers is doing another thing, no? Tumiti pa, your hand is setting up the position, you're shifting, no? But your elbows can do that, the lifting. Even if you move right here, pag nag-i-inward na parang movement when you're swaying your elbow, that's still part of lifting it out, no? So just make sure that you're using or you're lifting it with the proper part of your body, proper muscles, yung pinapagana natin when we're lifting it up. So, when you're playing high notes, of course, di ba? Pumapasok tayo na ganyan. And you see a lot of people doing this. Parang they open up their body if they're playing high notes. Di ba? And you're now giving the pressure of lifting into your thumb only. Kasi, for this part, when you're at a high position, your thumb and your palm will be the one in contact with your instrument. So dito, yun yung nagli-lift. Now, if you're just going to lift with your thumb, there's so much pressure na mapupunta sa kanya. Plus, the way it is holding it, no, naka-extend, masakit yun sa thumb. So, you have to help with a bigger muscle group, no? So, again, you can use your elbows, but never use your shoulders when lifting. Okay? Huwag tayong gaganito. Why? Because one, it's the tension in the shoulders that will hinder all the movements in your body. So once this seizes up, no, or na-tense na yung shoulders natin, we can really do a lot with our fingers, no? Babagal na yung dexterity natin, hindi na natin may hit yung notes. There's a lot of things that can go wrong if you lift with your shoulders, no? At least when you lift with your elbow, you can still move, no? So you're not going to be lifting with his. You're gonna lift with this, no? Technically, not the shoulders anymore, no? But just the arm. So if you look closely, I lift with this, not with this, no? And don't lift with your wrist. Don't lift with your fingers. Don't lift with your hand. Ayan. So again, if you want to try playing without a shoulder pad, there's a lot of adjustments that you need to do in order for you to play the violin comfortably without a shoulder pad. But lifting is not bad as long as you know that there will be consequences or drawbacks that you have to face, no? That you have to also master in order for you to be playing it effectively. So, para maiwasan lang natin yung tumutugtog tayo ng nakababa yung instrument that is prone to uh, bad intonation, lower yung dexterity ng fingers will be greatly affected kasi we're out of position. So, again, you only lift in order to place your instrument in position. You don't need to lift it extra high. You don't need to let go naman to have it extra low. But at the end of the day, it's still the comfort that you need to feel, that you want to achieve when you're trying to play. So, you can play with the shoulder pad or without, as long as you try and practice the drawbacks in between those two styles of playing. And kung nakatulong tong video na to, please do drop a like, comment down below for more content you'd like to see. And of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel. My course on Udemy is still available. Check it out. And links down in the description box for all my socials. This has been Ryan Monakil for Violin Tips and Tricks. And I'll see you on the next video.